Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming out this evening in the cold. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Highland Park Plan and Design Commission for Tuesday, January 20th. It's 7:02 p.m., and I'd like to ask Director Fontaine to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Incheck.
Here.
Commissioner Fettner. Here. Commissioner Henry. Commissioner Mantis.
Here.
Commissioner Moore.
Here.
Vice Chair Nanis.
Here.
Chair Kirsch.
Present.
We have a quorum. I'd like to recognize Corporation Counsel Marcus Martinez and City Council Liaison Yumi Ross. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I think we know which one major item of business we have today. But first up is the consideration of the minutes from our January 6th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Any discussion?
I had one quick item, and, I think it was on the first page or two, but there was a discussion about the size of the properties along Central Avenue and the requirements. In one place, we have 80 square feet, and should probably be 80,000 square feet.
It should indeed. Is that amendment okay to the motioner and the seconder?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We do have the one abstention from Commissioner Fettner. Okay, we have a kind of a split agenda here tonight with the project in front of us. We have two different methods of testimony coming tonight. One is a new public hearing solely regarding the parking lot on the northwest corner of this site and that part of the project. And then we have three other items that will all be part of a public meeting rather than a public hearing. The difference here is that a public hearing, the testimony must be under oath, whereas the public meeting, it is not that way. So what we're going to do, if it's acceptable to everyone, is have Senior Planner Burhop give his presentation, which I believe is a complete presentation of everything that will be before us. We will then actually, first I'll open the public hearing, then we'll let Senior Planner Burhop give his presentation. Then we will take comments from the petitioners and any questions and everything regarding solely the public hearing piece regarding the parking lot. Then we'll move into the public meeting parts where everything else will be open. I want to remind people that the rezoning of this property is not on the agenda tonight. So comments regarding the rezoning, I'm going to rule out of order. And I also want to remind people, well, no, I don't remember. I would just want to remind people that we're here to discuss the changes that have been made between the preliminary approval of this project and the final approval of this project. And so I want to try to keep people on topic to those changes. I know we're probably stray somewhat, but if you could be cognizant of that fact so that everybody's time is used to maximum benefit. So with that, the scheduled business includes tonight, the PUD 2025-0041 for the following: a public hearing for a special use permit for an off-street parking lot, freestanding. 2, a public meeting for a special use permit in the nature of a final plan development with modifications from city code. 3, a public meeting for final plat of re-subdivision with variations and waivers, and 4, a public meeting for design review for a 227 residential unit townhome development at 1660 and 1700 Old Deerfield Road. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Highland Park Plan and Design Commission. Excuse me. My name is Steve Kirch. A quorum of the Plan and Design Commission being present, the members will now introduce themselves for the record, starting from my far right.
Kristen Incheck.
Danny Mantis.
Karen Moore.
Josh Nanis.
David Fettner.
The Plan and Design Commission is charged with hearing applications for rezonings, plan developments, and subdivisions under the zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations of the City of Highland Park. In all matters, we recommend to the City Council based upon the testimony presented to us in the hearing. We are required to decide cases within 45 days after receipt of the transcript. All testimony is under oath. Both applicants and others who wish to speak on a particular case should present specific evidence as to why a proposal meets or fails to meet the standards for the relief requested. For clarity of our record, only one person at a time will speak, and all questions will be directed through the chair. We ask that you make every effort to not be repetitive in your testimony. Finally, we will make every effort to adhere to the schedule prepared for tonight's hearing. If additional time is needed on a matter, it will be continued until the next available agenda. And with that, I open the floor for the staff, the Plan and Design Commission, to read into the record proof of publication and ownership.
For publication and ownership are available for viewing at the Offices of Community Development, 1150 Half Day Road in Highland Park. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Senior Planner Burra.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Chair. Okay, so this is the item on the agenda. It consists of several sub-items, and this is the staff presentation to kind of provide an update as to what's been submitted and where this is at right now. So this is for the final plan development, special use permit, a final plan, and then design review, then with the various modifications associated with those for the 1700 Old Deerfield Road site, formerly called the Solo Cup site. And again, my name is Carl Burhop. I'm a senior planner with the City of Highland Park and the Community Development Department. So the chair already laid this out. Thank you, Chair. So there are 4 requests. At the end of this meeting, if appropriate, the commission can adopt findings of fact recommending approval, can direct for denial, can make amendments of those, or change the conditions, or continue to a future date for more information. Ultimately, the commission is a recommendation body in all these items, except for the design review. The commission is technically the authority on design review, though the council does adopt plans with the plan development if they choose, if the council so does. The public hearing portion, as stated, is for a special use permit for an off-street parking lot freestanding. Do want to point out that was discussed in the 6 preliminary hearings, but this evening there's a public hearing for that component. Okay, so the project is it's broadly the same. There are some changes and updates. I'll go through those. Where this was left off with the commission and then the council, it was a 227 total residential units and townhomes. That's still the count with the clubhouse and pool. Still the proposed widening of Old Deerfield Road with the turn lane and changes on the police property, as well as the proposal to preserve landscaping and open space along the west and south periphery of the development. That's 12.9 acres of open space total for the whole site, of which a subset, 10.96 acres, will be in the conservation easement. The conservation easement is largely along the west and the south. Then, as well as additional off-street parking and landscaping are proposed, including a tot lot and pathway for public use along Ridge Road and a 14-space parking lot at the northwest part of the property. And so that's the same. That's where this was left off. That's the same to what the council considered back in October. This is the site, it's a 28.6 acre site. This is the aerial. On the left, that's just an inset to show the access road that goes all the way to the north. Okay, so commission and council considerations. So the preliminary considerations, there were 6 commission meetings on, 6 plan and design commission meetings on this, culminating in a 5-2 recommendation to approve back on September 9th. That was a recommendation on the preliminary plan development, the preliminary plat, design review, and at that time, it was also a recommendation on the request for rezoning. The city council did have a 7-0 adoption of preliminary approval back on October 30th. There were 2 council meetings. Then there were also 4 housing commission meetings, culminating in a 6-0 recommendation to approve on October 8th for 34 affordable units to be provided on site, and 1.2 units to be provided via payment in lieu. So this is the 13th meeting on this project, city meeting, 13th city meeting. Changes, what's changed or new? So this kind of comes from my report. So again, the SUP, special use permit consideration. So that was discussed in the preliminary, but the public hearing needs to occur for that. Certain technical documents, so final engineering plans and final stormwater management report, those have been fine-tuned from what was submitted in the preliminary phase. So those items were submitted during the preliminary phase, but now those are final and are fine-tuned to an extent, and those were included in the packet. Other exhibits that were already submitted during preliminary have been further detailed, such as the landscaping plan, the improvements on the police station property, the final plat, and the exterior lighting plans. And I have a few follow-up slides. I'll just try to go through some of the changes. This is just summarizing what we're going to look at here. Then there were also new exhibits for construction traffic, sound mitigation, as well as updated traffic impact statement addendums for the Devonshire Court Ridge Road crosswalk, pedestrian crosswalk, then the Railroad Old Deerfield Road intersection. So that's broadly what we're going to try to cover here quickly. I have a few slides on these. What's the same? There are no changes to the following. So October 30th was the city council date where the preliminary resolution was adopted. And so the site plan from that and the related plans in that site plan exhibit, the architectural layout, the unit matrix, the design materials, the clubhouse and townhome elevations and renderings, the height exhibit, the rezoning exhibit, and the inclusionary housing plan, those are all the same. Now, they are included in the packet for 2 reasons. One, just for reference, so the commission has an official record of what the city council reviewed and approved, and also because those items that have not changed are still part of the overall final development plan. There were items from October 30th, though, obviously, that will be superseded, such as the engineering plans, the new landscaping plan, the new improvements on the police station, the new final plat, the new exterior lighting plans. Those things have been updated. Okay, so the special use permit, that is for the off-street parking lot, freestanding. So that comes from our section 150.490 in the zoning code that has all the land uses that are allowed in the city, those tables that go on quite a ways from A to, I think, maybe S. So there are parking lots in the northwest part of this property. Part of that, a portion of that is for an easement holder. That's this portion right here. And then this portion on the west is proposed as part of the public benefit. And so these parking lots, they're not accessory. So in our review of this, these are not actually accessory to development. These are an independent principal land use. And so that's a conditional use in the proposed zoning district. Of course, it's proposed to be RM1. Technically, there will be a strip along the north that's I, that the applicant has proposed to retain, but overwhelmingly, these parking lots will be in the RM1 zoning district, which is proposed by the applicant if that is approved, and that is a conditional use, so it needs a special use permit for that. Yes, that's pretty much goes bullet point by bullet point. So what is the applicant proposing here? So the applicant did clarify that there will be a 2.5 with landscaping with irrigation. The irrigation actually, which is not installed right now, there is no irrigation system is my understanding. So the applicant's proposing an irrigation system throughout there that's splash blue. That was actually on the last sheet of the updated landscaping plan in the packet. Obviously, the irrigation will provide for healthier plants. And so the applicant proposes a 2.5-foot landscaping strip here, right along the property line to buffer the parking lot from the restaurant land use on the north. I also want to point out, so this is a zoom in. So the applicant is proposing sidewalk along Old Deerfield Road. And as you can see, it is hugging the curb, which was reviewed by our engineering division, and that's acceptable. But the purpose to do that, the purpose for that sidewalk to hug the curb is there is landscaping right now in the right of way. And the applicant specifically calls out that the existing landscaping within the right of way is to be preserved. My other note from this is so that originally when this was in preliminary, there was a request for landscaping relief for the number of islands. And so I do want to point out that relief is still needed, but there's more context to it. And the context is this: islands are provided. So there are 2 here. The applicant also calls out islands here. The reason it's still needed is because technically there are more than 10 spaces in a row. I think there's 11. And so the islands are still needed. That was considered in preliminary, but the applicant has provided additional landscaping. It just doesn't meet the technical requirements of the landscaping code. Are there any changes about the parking lot? This is what needs the public hearing. I'll move on to the other parts of the project, but are there any questions about this? Okay. Moving on. Okay, final engineering plans and final plat. So again, there were engineering plans submitted for preliminary. These are just the fine-tuned final version. And so what I want to point out here, so these changes I want to point out here, I want to be careful on how I describe these. These aren't changes from October. These are changes from what I posted on January 9th. So the city did post the applicant's materials on January 9th, a week early. So that way the commission and the public would have an extra week to try to review these things. Well, the downside of that is sometimes things are still being updated, things are still being worked on. And so then I posted updated items behind those that had already been posted a week earlier. And so what's different is on the final engineering plans, the woodland path alignment was slightly altered to match landscape set. It was a minor alignment change. The off-site engineering plans were revised to add hardscape in front of the relocated monument sign at the police station. So that was one of the requests with one of the changes they did on the police station department. So as you may recall, the applicant is proposing to widen Old Deerfield Road so that way there's a dedicated left-hand turn lane. And part of that is that's widening the right-of-way, and so it's going further west onto the police department property. And that was already discussed. That was already discussed in the preliminary plan. That's not new. These are just the fine-tuned details of that. And so as part of that, the police station's monument sign is having to be relocated further north from where it is now. It's on the east side of the building. And so the applicant added additional plaza space in front of that. And again, that's a change from what was posted on the 9th to what was posted last Friday. Public improvements, again, those were discussed in the preliminary, but there was just final engineering plans showed those, the 3 crosswalks, the police department Deerfield Road access. That's on the west side of the police department property, giving them access right onto Deerfield Road. That's not meant to be a ingress or egress for public purposes. That's an emergency access that the police department or other emergency services can use if needed. Again, additional details on the city's 14 parking space lot, which we just discussed. There were sharrows identified on the final engineering plans. I think there were 2 on each side, so 4 total, right along Old Deerfield Road between the subject property and the police department, as well as 2 closer to the Richfield intersection. The final plat, there was a municipal block that needed to be updated. They updated that. There were certain easement descriptions provided. If you looked in detail, there were a couple easements that still have yet to be provided, and our corporation council is actually working to provide those. And when we get to the end of my presentation, I have a list of 5 or 6 details, minor but important, that still have to be met, that we would recommend that the commission adopt if the commission does move forward with this evening. And so that's one of them. Okay, as for landscaping, all Article 22 and Chapter 94 requirements are met. The applicant proposes additional plantings that are quote-unquote extra beyond what's required. I want to point out that the install heights for the required plantings are all either 3-inch caliper or 8 feet high at install, and those are identified on the plan. The applicant does identify extra plantings that are beyond the code requirement that are either 2.5-inch caliper or 6 feet in height. Overall, 96 more trees than what was in the preliminary, and overall 517 more shrubs than what was in the preliminary. And that's my breakout table. And that table was in the report as well. And I did make a new tweak to this table. You guys are going to get a new tweak from here on out. I've decided I actually want to have a column for the Chapter 94 replacements to make it more clear about what's going on. And so in the code, I won't make this a long segue, but Article 22 is a zoning code requirement. That's what the commission knows about and always does. The commission does the Article 22, Chapter 150 zoning code. That gets to the foundation plantings around homes or buildings. That gets to the vehicular use area like parking lots and drive aisles. The commission does that all the time. Chapter 94 is the city's tree code. That's what the city forester is responsible for. And when you remove trees, you have to plant new ones, and the replacement gets to that requirement. And there's like a multiplier. The more, the nicer the species and the older the tree, the larger the tree, the more you have to plant larger trees to replace them. There's a formula, it's all in code. Anyway, so yeah, I added that column so the commission could be more apprised as to what's going on. Exterior lighting. So there was lighting again. Again, a lot of these things, these were discussed in preliminary. This is just really fine tuning the details on it. So the exterior lighting is code compliant with one note, and the applicant did agree to revise. And so this is a condition that staff has. Again, these things are minor, but they're important. You have to comply with code. So the lighting throughout the development. So in the R7 area, you can only have 7.5 feet tall. That was discussed preliminary, complies. And then throughout the development, there's actually several different heights you can go up to in the RM1. It kind of depends what it's for, but long story short, the dog park lighting is 15 feet high. I guess it has to be 14 according to the code. So the applicant said they'll reduce that 1 foot. Devonshire Court Ridge Road and an Old Deerfield Road and the railroad intersection updates. So for the Devonshire Court and Ridge Road pedestrian crosswalk, so the applicant submitted an updated traffic impact statement. Actually, they submitted that, I believe, right in time for the council meeting in October, but after the posting date. In any event, that was in the packet now for everyone to see. And so the applicant's consultant did a review, and I do want to say there was one change on that. And I just want to make that clear. I don't know if that was clear in the report. So there was a crosswalk proposed before that we're talking about at Devonshire Court and Ridge Road, and it was originally proposed on the north side of that intersection. The applicant moved it to the south side, the reason being grade and ADA compliance. The grade on the north was such that it wasn't ADA compliant, so they moved it to the south side. Now, the applicant's traffic impact statement addendum indicates that it meets the safe sightline distance. So as you're coming from the south or the north for that matter, there's enough distance to safely see and use the for pedestrians to use the crosswalk. For the October 30th city council meeting, our engineering division agreed with that. Again, they moved it to the south side. And again, our engineering division and Civil Tech, this was sent out to Civil Tech for third-party review, and their very short memo was included in the packet on this, and they concur with the applicant that the intersection is acceptable for codes and safety standards. And then the other applicant's traffic impact statement addendum and Civil Tech comments has to do with the Old Deerfield Road and the railroad intersection. You know how that meets, right? Kind of where that access road runs into Old Deerfield Road, then you have that railroad crossing right there. So the ICC, which is that Illinois Commission, I believe is it the Interstate Commercial Commission? I can't remember the exact phrase.
Illinois Commerce Commission.
Illinois Commerce Commission. So basically, what they do is they review for certain railroad issues or regulations. So they had minor comments. Overall, they stated that so the applicant proposed certain signage there to make it so that cars heading east have to stop. And if you're heading west, you can go over the railroad track. So it's to limit stacking or queuing that can occur over the railroad track. So cars that are heading west can turn left, south into the access road. And so the applicant had provided that. Our Civil Tech did review it. Civil Tech had 4 comments. Those comments were in the packet, but those comments were responded to. So what you were looking at in the packet was the response to the city's review and Civil Tech's review. So there are no outstanding city comments on that. And ICC, they reviewed that as well. And again, they said it satisfied their safety concerns. They had comments. Again, we would just recommend this be a condition of approval. The applicant needs to dimension the distance from the stop sign to the RXR pavement markings, the marking that goes on the pavement to let you know there's a railroad crossing coming up. And it may be that the applicant does meet it, they just need to dimension that. It wasn't dimensioned on the plan. And then remove the cross hatching if deemed not necessary. And then there's a condition, there's already a condition related to a future traffic study that'll have to be provided by the applicant. We just ask that that be amended to also include monitoring and review of the signage and performance at this railroad intersection. Again, these were comments based on ICC. Yes, moving on. Other items. These are just kind of quick hitting points here, but they were new items, so I just want to bring them up. So there was a condition of approval from the council's resolution going towards sound mitigation. So the applicant did provide an acoustics letter, providing their plan for measuring noise and providing mitigation for those units that are broadly along the northern commercial properties, along the east side of the property, along the railroad. I have nothing else on that. That's a condition of approval that we recommend. That was also in the resolution. The applicant did provide a remediation schedule, provided outlining the required report submissions and approx timeline for the IEPA for letters of no further remediation. So there's actually a condition of approval that was in the resolution the council adopted in October, and we recommend that the commission re-adopt that, and that also, if this moves forward, that the council re-adopt that, and I'll actually come back to that. Then there was a construction site logistics plan, and so that gets to concerns from staff as well as the neighborhood about the construction traffic. There were a couple things, and there was a one-page exhibit in the packet on this, but it gets to the stipulation that no construction traffic be allowed along Ridge Road, except as necessary to construct those improvements that are along the west edge of the property, that are on the police department, and other required off-site or utility improvements as appropriate. And there is an exhibit on that, and I can pull that up if the commission wants to see that. City or agency comments. I already said engineering division, Civil Tech, their comments were addressed. So there were comments in the packet, but they have been addressed. I want to be clear on that. The same with forestry, except for one outstanding issue. Final engineering was provided for the woodland path in terms of the grading for it, but there has to be a final determination as to materials. And so we just recommend that that be something as approved by the forester. The forester had concerns in the preliminary phase about limestone being used because of the pH impact on the trees. And so there was just an outstanding issue there to be sorted out. Lake County Stormwater Management Commission, there were comments in there. I should clarify that those comments, the numbered comments were actually old. I just didn't remember if they had been to the commission before, because I can't always remember when these came in September and October. So just to be fully transparent, I put them in there so the commission could see those. But the other main takeaway from the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission is just verification that the applicant did in fact submit for their whatever permit they need. They look at wetlands as well as stormwater, obviously. And so that is being processed right now by the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission, and that is under review. Utilities, no objections have been received. I did send out a new round of review when final was submitted. And then I already stated the ICC comments in the prior slide. Okay, we're gonna run through, see, I got the modifications and then I think maybe a closing slide, so we're almost there. From the subdivision code, so these are the variations or waivers that were included in the resolution. They're actually reduced one, and I actually don't believe this was in my report. The applicant brought it to my attention that this was actually no longer needed, and they are correct. So there was a subcomponent there. It's the requirement that sidewalks be installed whenever somebody re-subdivides a property. And in fact, they still need that for for two of the three portions, but one of those portions is actually going to be compliant. So the proposal complies more with the subdivision code for final than it did for preliminary, because they are going to be doing the sidewalk there along Old Deerfield Road. Modifications from zoning, no changes on this. The height relief, the loading space modification, the sign modifications, these are right from the resolution. There's no change on that. Again, the height modification, that's what triggered the discussion for public relief when this was at preliminary. No changes there. Everything's the same as what the council adopted in their resolution. Okay, this is additional slide on modifications for zoning. There is one change here for the foundation landscaping modifications. The applicant indicated to me that they are meeting the 5-foot requirement so that this can be struck, meaning that the final plan is more compliant to code than preliminary. I do have a condition for that. The applicant should dimension the landscaping plan on the specific foundation page, just to make that clear that it does meet the 5-foot requirement. And I have that in another slide. Again, these other two are the same, E and F. Here, so the inclusionary housing modification is the same. And then there is one new one that I identified just when I was double checking things today. So this wasn't in the report, but this is not a zoning relief. I do want to point that out. This is not a zoning code. That's an important distinction. This is from the fence code. The applicant does propose chain link fence for the dog parks. So I just want to point that out. And during the preliminary phase, I'm not sure if all those final details have been sorted out yet, but I do want to point out that the applicant is doing ornamental powder coat black finish, open type fence along the western periphery that will face Ridge Road. I believe they're doing board on board along the north and the east. Those are all code compliant. They are asking only for the chain link fence 4 feet high at the dog parks. And the commission may recall the dog parks are actually kind of in the corners of the development. The north one being abutting the commercial and the south one kind of being towards the railroad track. Okay, conditions. So if the commission does move this forward, staff would recommend, I should have numbered these. Makes it easier to talk about when they're numbered because I can refer to them. But the first bullet point is just updating the modifications and the finding of fact based on what we talked about today. That would be striking the sidewalk request, striking the foundation landscaping request, and then adding the chain link fence one for the dog parks. And then the condition related to final easement language be provided for the final plat by Corp Council as appropriate. Revised exterior lighting is already discussed. The dog parks, so it goes down from 15 to 14. Provide the revisions I discussed per the ICC's comments in the railroad. Condition about the final materials to the city's satisfaction for the woodland path. The foundation landscaping, that they revise that to include the 5-foot dimension to verify that. And then the EV charging stations, which I believe are on the plan, but just to make it clear that there should be 2 at the city's public portion of the parking lot, and then 2 at the clubhouse. And then that's my presentation. The only thing I will say, the public benefit's all the same. That's the same, so there's nothing for me to say there that would be new or different. I had made a comment about the no further remediation, and we recommend you readopt all the conditions that were in the resolution, but I just wanted to point that out, that that was a condition that the city council adopted, and again, staff just wanted to draw your attention to that the applicant will have to obtain and submit to the city a determination of no further remediation for the property issued by the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, and so on, as that's defined in there. I can take questions if there are any. I can also pull up exhibits if you want me to pull up any of the exhibits.
Okay, well, if we could just focus on the public hearing portion for a moment. And I believe there were no questions from the commission on that. Does the petitioner wish to speak specifically to the northwest parking lot?
For the record, Katie Janky-Dale from DLA Piper, noting the attorney for the applicant.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Staff did a great job and we feel like we covered it during the 6 other public hearings. So if there are questions, we're here for those, but we don't have our own presentation.
Any questions from the commission for the petitioner?
Just
Commissioner Manis.
one quick clarification question. The parking lot will still remain your property. It's not being transferred to the city.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have any members of the public who would wish to speak to the issue of the northwest parking lot? Seeing none, then I believe that pretty much concludes the public hearing portion of our meeting. Now, from the commission, are there any questions for staff on the rest of the report?
I have a question. Can you pull up the exhibit for the construction traffic, please?
Yes, sir. So this plan here, so this was in the packet as attachment 7. You did say the construction traffic
right.
management, correct?
So my question is, I see where it's highlighted, the primary construction entrance is that access drive. Does that mean that any other access is completely prohibited?
So so it talks about how.
Because it says primary, but does that mean that they can have a secondary entrance?
Well, they could do secondary, but that's only if it's related to so it says down here, construction trade parking on site, and it says no construction traffic on Ridge Road except as necessary to construct improvements along west edge of property and on police department property and other required offsite utility improvements.
So all the construction traffic for the majority of the subdivision is just allowed to enter through that access road?
That's right, and that'll be verified if this moves towards a development agreement, that language will be verified, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, I'm good.
Anyone else? And can we hear from the petitioner now on the rest of the proposal? If they wish to speak.
Sorry, did you have a question?
I had a quick question. I wasn't able to find the attachment, but I was looking at the wetland conservation easement part of the application and wondering if maintenance had been identified for that area. I know it says that it's been, I don't know what the right term is, like deeded. It's not deeded to the city, but like, does the city have maintenance responsibility or is it the responsibility of the property owner or an HOA, or how does that work?
Would you like me to respond?
Sure, go ahead.
So there was a condition in the city council's preliminary resolution related to the open space along the west and the south. And this is, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the space you're referring to?
Yes.
And I don't want to, I never want to say the wrong word. I don't want to misquote it and I don't have it in front of me, but it talks something about how hold on one second here. Yeah, So there was a condition here on that. So this talks about how, so the applicant must provide and restrict within the property 12.9 acres of open space. And then in addition, it goes on to talk about the specific 10.96 acres that shall be designated as a conservation easement. And so it says here, in the sole determination of the city be dedicated or donated by the applicant to an entity designated by the city and the city's sole discretion. And it goes on to talk about how the conservation easement will be subject to and incorporate all comments made by the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission. and allow for encroachments that the city deems necessary. And so the development agreement will also address this, but my understanding is that the applicant will be responsible for the maintenance of this property. And if the applicant can comment, if they'd like to comment.
Yeah, that's confirmed. As long as we own it, we would be maintaining it either through the entity that, if it's rental, the entity that owns the rest of and manages the remainder of the property. If we were directed to convey it to whoever the city told us to, we would probably work with them because they may, if they're taking ownership, want to have some of those control over that. But currently the plan is that we would continue to privately own it. We received the language from Lake County and are working on incorporating that and the other easement language with Corporation Council.
Okay, thank you.
And then we also don't have a presentation for the public meeting, but we're here for questions and think we meet and maybe even have improved a little bit over the preliminary plan, but certainly substantially conform with it. But I'm happy to answer any questions from the commissioner or public. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this issue? Please come up to the podium, state your name and spell your name for the last name for the note taker, and your first name too, if it happens to be unusual in any way.
Lori Broutman, Laurie, B as in boy, ROU, T as in Tom, MAN.
And you'll have 3 minutes. That's kind of a citywide rule to keep things moving and to give everybody a chance to
I
speak.
thought it was 5 minutes.
It's in the Plan and Design Commission's rules and
It's
procedures, 3
right.
minutes.
It's in our rules of procedure. as well,
And that's
so.
what it's been throughout this
Okay.
entire application.
I know that the applicant hasn't done an environmental site assessment yet, but I was wondering if you know of any of the previous applicants have done any, and if so, what those showed. I'm trying to find out if there's any environmental liens or activity and use limitations in connection with the property. I'm trying to find out what remediation or cleanup was done by Solo Cup or any other owners of the property after the facility was demolished. What was the remediation or cleanup sufficiently done? Was the cleanup of plastic sufficiently done? Are the contents of underground storage storage tanks getting into the drinking water or any other water of nearby homes? What will be the impact of the redevelopment plan by Habitat Company on the health, safety, and quality of life risks associated with air, soil, water, noise, and light pollution of people living in nearby homes? What will be the environmental impact of the development? If the redevelopment will have any impact on the water quality of nearby homes, what will that impact be? What will the impact of the redevelopment be on environmentally sensitive areas? What is the impact, including harm to wetland habitat, of all the trees that have been removed? Is there any part of the redevelopment that will harm wetland habitat? What harm will it cause? And what will be the impact of that harm? And I wasn't clear why the commission wasn't following the city's master plan. That's the end of my questions and comments.
Okay.
Chair, may I make a brief statement?
Yes, please.
I just want to direct this commission's attention to the statements the chair made earlier. What's before this commission, aside from the public hearing and those standards, as we get into the public meeting portion, are the changes from the preliminary plan to the plans as we see now. And so to the extent that there are things that do not fall within the changes as provided by Mr. Burhop's report, or as stated in the packet, those are not before this commission.
I have asked some of these questions at previous meetings and not gotten answers.
Okay, right, but
And I emailed Mr. Burhop, and I appreciate what he was able to
excuse
get
me.
back to me,
Right,
but he
excuse
wasn't
me.
able to
We
get back on
understand,
all of
again,
those.
we've talked about how many public meetings we have had on these issues. These questions have been asked. And, I mean, there are answers to most of them, I believe, if you go back and read some of the stuff that we have. Senior Planner Burhop just went through the remediation question. All of that is going to be in the development agreements and also in the resolutions that the city council has already passed, and will likely pass again when they get this recommendation from us.
so
So
what-
again, it's not before us tonight, because as Corporation Council points out, these are not part of the changes that were made. I understand that these questions are important and people want them answered, and hopefully we can, either through staff or through the petitioner, we'll get you the information you need, but
How am I
I'd like to
gonna-
move on.
How am I going to get the answers?
Chair, if I may.
Yeah, okay.
In terms of the environmental, one of our conditions is that a no further remediation be issued from the Illinois EPA. And that no further remediation letter comes in at some point during the construction schedule at an appropriate time. My understanding is that no phase one, no phase two has been done for this project in relation to this development yet. And so there is no answer from the IEPA as to these, a lot of the environmental details. That's not to say that there isn't answers to the question. The IEPA hasn't looked into it. And one more thing, the IEPA is the state's expert essentially on environmental issues. It wouldn't be, I certainly wouldn't put on my environmental expert hat and try to answer any of these questions. They are good questions, but this is not the commission and this is not the meeting that we would be able to provide those answers. There will be an NFR letter issued by the IEPA, and that would be foiable once it's received by the city.
Right, Chair. May
Yes,
I come?
go ahead,
Just to
Burhop.
further state, similar to what Corporation Counsel stated, again, throughout the preliminary hearing, there were multiple residents that spoke of environmental concerns. And so staff listened to that, and staff's response was to craft with Corporation Counsel a condition of approval that this development will have to get a letter of no further remediation. And what that is, that's a letter that the IEPA will issue if the applicant meets certain things. The applicant had a one-page, actually it was slightly more than one-page document in the packet that laid out 3 or 4 reports that they'll have to submit to obtain that letter. So that's staff's response to the environmental concerns, that there's going to be a condition of approval that the IEPA will have to issue that no further remediation letter or letters as appropriate.
Thank you for getting that condition. How will I get the answers to the other questions?
Well, someone will get you as many answers as we can. If they are readily gotten some other,
Yeah, this has been reviewed by the Stormwater Management Commission. It's been reviewed by our own city engineers. I think we have to rely on the IEPA to sort out the materials that are in the soil. We can't do all those things individually as a plan and design commission.
No, I'm not asking
So
you
we
to.
rely on what comes to us from the state experts.
Can I also make
Yes,
one more
please.
comment? And I know that Lori Broutman also had concerns about the wetlands. And again, from a staff perspective, well, we took those concerns and I verified with Lake County Stormwater Management Commission, Julie Crane's my contact, that they do in fact have an application in from the applicant, and the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission looks at wetland issues.
Okay, reviewing that, yeah.
Yeah, that's under review, right?
And all of these things will be addressed throughout this process as it goes forward through permitting and everything else. So, it will become clear. And unfortunately, I'm sorry, it's not relevant to tonight's discussion. That's just the limits we operate under with the city code.
Carl,
Okay.
I appreciate your answers to my email. Will I be hearing anything further from you? Because you didn't address all the questions I sent.
Do you want me to respond, Chair?
If you'd like, yeah.
Well, first of all, any member of the public can always speak to me, either call me or email me or come to the office to meet with me, but and to be clear, Lori Broutman's email is included in the packet as public comment. I can certainly meet with Lori Broutman to go through your email if you'd like to go through them or speak on the phone about it.
Great, thank you.
Again, some of my responses to those, there's responses that, because there were numerous environmental and wetland questions, there were other questions as well, but for some of those questions, the response is, gets to that condition about no further remediation, or the response is the Lake County Stormwater Management Commission is reviewing the wetland issues, and so on and so forth.
Okay, well, if you
Or
could,
it's, the questions have been put to the applicant with regard to past studies and other
Right.
things, and they've been answered, and
We
so
asked
we
and
don't
answered
have something we don't
in
have.
more than one meeting last year, as I recall. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak on this matter?
I'm Martin Karp. I've been sworn in previously. And I apologize in advance if this isn't directly, or maybe it is under the realm of what this meeting's about. I attended 5 of the 6 special meetings, and a big topic of discussion was traffic impact. And I don't want to beat a dead horse again. I guess my single question then is, if the traffic impact is underestimated, where does the financial responsibility lie for remediation at a later time?
Well, there are traffic provisions in the agreement. They will be in the development agreement. They're in the resolution. The petitioner will have to fund additional traffic studies should those become necessary.
But, and I understand that, and I heard that in previous meetings. But then again, the financial responsibility of the remediation, and once that happens.
May I comment, Chair?
Yes, you may.
So as a condition R that was in the preliminary resolution adopted by the city council, and again, staff is recommending that the commission also re-adopt and recommend those same conditions. So condition R gets to a requirement, and I'll just read it. Forgive me, I hope people can see it. I can zoom in. So this is a condition that that the city council already adopted in the preliminary, and we're asking the commission to also re-adopt it. So the development agreement must contain a provision obligating the applicant to conduct at its expense an updated professional traffic study consisting of the same scope as the existing traffic study, and obligating the applicant to construct or perform any traffic improvements recommended by the updated traffic study. The updated traffic study must be conducted while schools are in session. The updated traffic study must be performed at the time that the proposed development achieves 90% occupancy, or at such earlier time during the construction of the proposed development that the city manager in its sole discretion may determine is necessary and warranted. And so, well, right, I don't know if I need to explain that. That's, yeah.
Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Okay, and since there were changes to the traffic studies, that's an appropriate question to ask.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Please come up.
I'm assuming.
Can you give us your name and spell your last name?
Sandy Lurie, Lurie, or Sandra. I think this has to do with one of the changes, so I would imagine it's right in there. So we've been dealing with this since May, when the crosswalk was put in by Devonshire. I live on Devonshire, almost right off the corner. We still believe it's unnecessary. Habitat didn't ask for it. The city asked for it. They're calling it a public benefit. We think it's not. But irrespective of that, one of the reasons I wanted to ask, and Carol answered the question, as to why they changed where the crosswalk is. So I read the KL08 report. I talked to Alex Turkowski, who, because he hasn't been on this, he hasn't really been up to speed on this because Sam Hurdle and Manny Gomez were really dealing with the project. And I read KLOA's report. Civil Tech didn't have a comment. The city is kind of just throwing it back to what KLOA says. They are making a measurement. The measurement has nothing to do with the behavior of Ridge Road. I'm here to tell you, my neighbor is here to tell you, I've sent many letters. Neighbors have sent many letters. The crosswalk at Devonshire and Ridge is dangerous. And that's being ignored because they say that there's enough sight. Now, in your packet, I don't know if it's in your packet, but I sent it, you have pictures I took traveling north on Devonshire and how you see, and when you see that point. So if someone's standing on the west side or on the east side of Ridge at Devonshire, when you are fully in view. And more importantly, every day, as I approach Devonshire, cars pass me by. They just whoosh past. They're going 35 miles an hour. It is a dangerous point. And we don't want you cutting down trees for the sake of this crosswalk. Secondly, since, I forgot, Carl, who did you say changed the side? It's something to do with water, something with grading, okay? They changed it from the north side to the south side. The problem with doing that is you then have less time. Because I don't know how wide Devonshire is, 30 feet? I don't know. How wide is a regular street? So now you're 30 feet closer traveling north. I'm not so concerned about people traveling south because that's a straight shot. But traveling north, they are coming around a corner. It reminds me of when they used to have the stoplight at Clavey until there were so many accidents, terrible accidents, because nobody expected to see a light at Clavey. And this is the same thing. No one expects there to be a crosswalk in the middle of Ridge Road. There's no sidewalk on that side of the street. At least there should have been a sidewalk from the last house on the east side of Ridge through the development to where the, what do you call that trail? Where the trail ends? You know, the trail tail comes out onto Ridge? Woodland Trail, okay. At least there should have been a sidewalk put from that last house to the Woodland Trail, and then you don't have to cross there. You know, our feeling, the neighborhood's feeling, the community's feeling is that there's 2 tot lots in there. This is totally unnecessary to invite 400 people down my block to get to Devonshire Park. Moody Park is the same distance. It's a bigger park, it's a better park. But having said all this, you're setting the community up for danger. And I don't know whose head that's going to be on. I hope nobody gets hurt, but this isn't being addressed. At every meeting since May, when this first came up, that's when the city first asked them to put it on. We've addressed it, and there's no feedback. It just keeps getting pushed on. To that same point, excuse me, that easement that was put in, there's an easement, so a possible future emergency street at Devonshire that was asked for by one city council member. The city didn't ask for it, the fire department didn't ask for it. On the basis of one city council member, that was included. And an entire community is asking you not to put in this crosswalk. You think it's a public benefit, we think it's a public danger. So, you know, but to be honest, I've been to all these meetings, you know, I've spoken before. I live across the street from this development. I looked at your list of public benefits. This is not a public benefit. And so I would urge you to look at it again. If nothing else, move it back to the north side. I'm not sure the problem with the grading. I did have a discussion with Alex Turkowski today about the grading on Devonshire. And since there's going to be so much more traffic, because cars turn down my street all the time, and they cut down from, you know, Deerfield Road, they take the fork, so you don't have to go down Deerfield. And that's another issue for another time. But-
Thank you.
Okay.
I believe, you know, we obviously share the concerns. It was listened to, that's why we have the extra study, that's why our traffic engineers reviewed their traffic engineers study.
But they don't know the behavior. Yeah,
Again,
I get it.
you know, that's part of the testimony and part of the record. We're listening to your
Yeah.
testimony as well here. I assume that parents who are worried about it will not send their kids over to the public tot lot, and that will make it much less of a benefit, but,
Okay.
you know, that's,
You know,
I mean,
respectfully, Commissioner
again,
Carr,
it's all been taken into consideration.
everybody in the neighborhood wants to know why none of their concerns, not the zoning, none of it has factored into.
Well, again, you're
I'm not
you're
to
talking
put it
to
on
the
you.
wrong person in me.
I know,
because
yeah, I know.
I think
Okay.
I made my positions
Yes,
clear on
yes,
this
you
last
did.
year, and I'm
Yes,
not
you
going to
did.
berate. You can go,
Right, okay.
you know,
right.
I would have my issues with the city council over this as well, but
Okay.
that's the forum now, pretty much where this is going to be decided.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask that question relating to that?
Yes, you may. Commissioner Feder.
Is it just a standard crosswalk, or is there a light attached to it? You know, like at West Ridge, when you're crossing Ridge to get to West Ridge from the east side of the street, it's a crosswalk, but there's a button to hit a light. So if anybody's there, it alerts any cars coming. Or is this just a regular drawn-in crosswalk with a sign?
I would recommend that the applicant respond to that. I'm just aware that for sure it's the crosswalk marking on the pavement. I can't immediately recall. I would have the applicant
I
respond.
didn't see anything regarding any signaling. Sure,
You have to come to the
come
podium
to the
again.
podium, please.
Yeah, you know what?
Just,
That I thought of, not that anybody's gonna be happy about it, is, why not put a stop sign on either side,
that's a whole,
okay?
that's a whole other kettle of
If you want
fish.
to address, right, if we want to address the safety issue, not that I want cars stopping, you know, near my house, but that would address the safety issue. And I'm not sure who to address that with.
Well, not
point me-
us. We don't deal with stop signs.
All right, well, point me in the right direction, who would that be?
I'm going to point.
There's,
Commissioner Nanis, I
if
believe.
you email Gita, the city manager, that your traffic concerns, there's a traffic
Is that
working
public-
group
is
with
that
the
public
police
works?
department It's the police department, it's Public Works, it's the city staff. I've had the pleasure of attending one of these calls because I have issue of Green Bay Road and Hillside by where we both respectively live. But, and they do listen. I don't know if they'll take anything into account, but they do
Okay.
listen. So email Gita and she'll happily.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the traffic commission.
Yeah, it's like a monthly meeting.
Okay.
That they have.
Thank you.
If applicant can respond just about the type of crosswalk.
Just to be clear, though, the Traffic Management Commission, the people that review these things already reviewed this.
Thank you.
So I would hazard to say their opinion on the matter would not change. Whether or not there's a stop sign ordered to be placed, whether it's warranted or not is another matter. So I just want to make that clear. Yeah.
Any further comment from the public? If not, the commission has before it findings of fact that it may vote on tonight if that's what it wishes. Feelings, thoughts?
So the findings of fact include those changes, Carl, that you listed at the
Right.
beginning.
1 second here. The 1 second here, I'll put that slide up. Are you referring to the staff recommended conditions or changes?
Right, I mean, right, we have, there are a number of conditions, but are all of those reflected in the findings of fact currently? I don't recall.
So the findings of fact that are in the packet do not have these, what is that, 7 or 8 bullet points. And so that's why I made a point to have a slide on this, so that if the commission did want to adopt the findings of fact, staff would recommend that you also include these with that. And the findings of fact, so to be clear, the findings of fact are the findings of fact, and they also reference all the conditions from the resolution that the council passed in October. And then in addition to that, staff would recommend that these conditions be included.
So I guess I'd move that we adopt the findings of fact with these 9 updates and modifications as stated here on this sheet, listed conditions.
And those are in the staff report? Carl?
That's correct.
Those can, okay.
These right here, no, these are not. These are on
Those are not?
These are just on this slide here.
Those are new for today.
Well, in part, forgive me, in part, these are distributed throughout the staff report. Here they are condensed for just one read all on one slide.
For the purposes of making a motion.
Corporation Council, would we have to enumerate those?
Well, I mean, they're listed, you can say the conditions as they are presented by staff. I think that's clear enough.
Thank you.
I'll second. There are additional conditions.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion on the motion?
This doesn't include any sign packages, correct?
No, it does include design, yes, it does include design review.
Don't believe so. Correct me if I'm wrong, Carl. Findings of fact do not touch upon the design review aspect of this?
Well, no, I don't believe so. Normally, so I don't know. So the commission can make a recommendation on the final PUD, the final plat, and the SUP for the off-street parking lot freestanding. I think they can make a recommendation on those 3 in one vote, and then the design review as an authority body, would that just be a separate vote?
You can do it that way, and that's customarily how we do it. By adopting the findings of fact, you do recommend for approval all of the relief sought except for the design review aspect. Because the findings of fact don't mention the design review, you would make a separate motion seconded to approve the design review. And so right now you have a motion on the floor adopting the findings of fact that goes towards the plat of re-subdivision, development, the final development plan, and the conditional use permit, that northwest lot. However that works, the next motion would be a motion to approve design review.
Okay. Okay, on the motion without the design review, can you call the roll, please? Director Fontaine.
Okay, on the motion with the additional conditions, Commissioner Incheck,
Aye.
Commissioner Fettner,
Aye.
Commissioner Mantis,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Vice Chair Nanis.
Aye.
And Chair Kirsch.
Nay.
The ayes have it. This motion carries, vote of 5-1. That is recommended to City Council with the additional conditions as stated in the presentation slide.
Okay, and then we'll be looking for a motion on design review.
I motion that we accept the design review as previously presented to us, because I don't think we have any new changes here tonight.
And so that would just be a motion to approve design review.
Motion to approve design review.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Then if you please, could you call the roll again, Director Fontaine?
Absolutely. Commissioner Incheck,
Aye.
Commissioner Fettner,
Aye.
Commissioner Manis,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Vice Chair Nanis,
Aye.
and Chair Kirsch.
Nay.
The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-1, and the design review is approved.
And the rest has been recommended to the City Council
That's correct.
for action. Okay, I believe that's our seventh and final look at this, yeah. Okay, thank you all very much.
Now you have to move on.
I know. But if people are going to leave, I give
Yeah, that's fine.
them a chance to get out.
Yes, sir? Oh, you sent me an email, but I can't respond until
Still have a
tomorrow.
meeting.
We still have a meeting though.
We still have a meeting.
Folks,
Yeah, sorry. It's okay.
folks, if you could, we still have a few small items like this.
Thank you. Take care.
You'll have to follow up tomorrow, but sir, I will. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Burhart, any information items related to administrative design review?
No, none for that, Chair.
Next meeting, February 3rd, 2026, a regular meeting here in City Hall. I believe we continued something to that meeting.
I don't believe so, but there will be,
The 17th, though.
oh, that's right, to the 17th. 147 Central was continued to February 17th. But there are, I believe there will be 2 signed package amendments on February 3rd. There's signs posted on the property, one's for the Renaissance Place and one is for, I believe it's 172 Skokie Valley Road. So 2 signed packages.
Okay. And any case briefing?
Mr. Chair, the City Council voted to direct staff to draft approval documents related to 734 Central. That's all I have.
Okay. Is there any business from the public regarding issues that were not on the agenda this evening? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that meeting adjourned.